Good evening, everyone. Welcome to one and all on this festive and chill Friday night. Well, hope you had a very Merry Christmas and you're enjoying this holiday season. Tonight, the NutriLIV Live 360 Holistic Health Program brings to you a very interesting conversation on the modern blueprint for holistic health. I'm Veda here from Pune, an IT professional, a health enthusiast and consultant, but primarily a lady with a family who she loves. And I'm sure each one of you has joined this session, who has joined here has a similar background where we all have a family whom we love. And hence, you're spending this Friday night to understand and gather more on holistic health, right? Today, in this modern world, we lead a lifestyle that is very different from what our grandparents lived, and hence need to focus on different solutions, keeping our base or our roots the same. To understand more and to get insights into the blueprint that works, I am privileged to be in conversation with our esteemed speaker. He is an ex naval commander. He's a two-time world champion in the sport of yachting. Sorry. He has represented India in three Olympics and eight Asian Games, bringing many medals to his country, including the only gold medal so far till date. He is the recipient of the Arjuna Award and the Chhatrapati Shivaji Award. He has 40 years of active national and international sporting career to his credit. He is also a loving husband and a family man. He's 64 but has a body that defies his calendar age and can beat many 20-year-olds in fitness. More so, he's a health expert, a mentor, and coach to thousands and thousands, having helped transform many family, life in their health and everywhere, including mine. With a thundering applause, and if you can switch your cameras, please help me welcome Farokh Tarapore onto this virtual stage. Warm welcome, Farokh.
Thank you, Veda, for that warm welcome.
Hope you're doing fine and ready to answer a lot of questions that we all have, compiled for you today. Okay. So with around this topic on modern day and what can be the blueprint on the perfect lifestyle, being in the modern era of internet and social media, we have a lot of information, and I think an average family is doing kuch na kuch, chota chota, something or the other, as per what they understand or think is applicable for them to do a healthier life or for their family, right? But as per you, since you are guiding so many with your experience, what are the five things that you would propagate to focus on for an improved health span or, from holistic health perspective?
Yes, on our platform, we have always maintained that if you give the body the right amount of nutrition and the right amount of exercise, you'd have found the safest way to health. So that takes care of basically two factors, okay, nutrition and exercise. And, these words are very well chosen, that not too much and not too little. Now, when you just speak about this in a sentence, I don't think people really register what it means, right? And one needs to put in a little bit of, more energy into understanding as to what is the real meaning of too much, not too much and not too little. Nutrition, your body needs a certain amount of nutrition. Your food gives you a certain amount of nutrition. Everybody is different. Everybody needs different levels of nutrition, and everybody needs different level of nutrition in different environment. You need to figure out what's the right nutrition for you and how much is too little and how much is too much. You need to understand the difference between calories and nutrition. Fast food will give you calories. Good quality food will give you nutrition. And that's one of the reasons why today, in this world, when there's so much of modified food that is available, people fail to understand the difference between calories and nutrition. So they're just eating, okay, which are like basically empty calories that causes weight gain, and weight gain comes with its own set of problems. Now, the same thing can be said for exercise. People just don't understand that you, from a zero level, you just can't put your body to some extreme exercise. In fact, I'll go a step further. Even if you're at the highest level, when you're overdoing anything, okay, you're going to cause oxidative stress. And that is something one need to realize that, okay, moving slowly in exercise is actually fast. Slow is better, right? But that does not mean, that doesn't give you the license to do nothing. So no. I've been told to take it really slow. So like I'm doing nothing. I mean, if I do nothing, I can't do anything wrong, right? So it cannot be taken to that extent also. So you need to find the right balance. You got to push yourself a little bit, not too much. Okay, that you're called. You should know the difference between training and straining. When you train, you build health. When you strain, you get injured. All right. So this is where, again, one needs to sort of really put their own thought process, stick to a community where the community can actually guide them. What is the difference? Because this is the most important point, not too much and not too little. How do you really know? If you've never been there, how do you really know that this is, am I doing too much or am I doing too little? And that's where a community like this can help you to say, hey, look, this is, you exiting, or hey, relax, man. Seriously, I mean, you're really calling this exercise? You're doing basically nothing. So that's why we need communities like this. Now, after we covered these 2 points, the third major point, okay, for good health is, in my opinion, hydration. There is so much of information on the internet regarding hydration, and it is so vague and so weird because from experience, I've figured out that everybody needs different levels of hydration. Again, depending upon, whether you're out in the sun, you're not out in the sun, depending upon the size that you have. Now, just think about it. People on internet, you'll find some vague answers like, 2 liters, somebody say 3 liters, somebody say 5 liters. Can you imagine if there is 100-kilo person, will that person need the same water requirement as a 45-kilo girl? No way.
Yeah.
It has to be different. It has to be, under moderation. So again, on the community, we have, given a lot of explanation as to how to judge whether are you consuming the right amount of water, you're not consuming the right amount of water. Then there is a lot of stuff on, hydrate yourself with this kind of juice and that kind of juice and this and that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I figured out that seriously, there is nothing really better than just plain, simple water for hydration. Nice, clean water for hydration is one of the best things that you can do to hydrate yourself. Of course, in high-level sports and, if you're losing some minerals, so while taking water, you can, make sure that you're getting the right mineral. But that's on the extreme level. But basically, you need the right amount of hydration. Again, not too much, and again, not too. Nobody on the internet really, or social medias really talk about overhydration. There is something like that too. Okay. And you need to find the right balance. The fourth factor or the fourth pillar of good health, I would say, is sleep. And this is nowadays getting the most disturbed. Okay. People are not sleeping at the right time. People are not. There was a saying in the olden days, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Somehow that's totally forgotten. And the more we are going away from that era, we are realizing that it had so much value in this phrase, early to bed, early to bed. This was a like thousands of year old phrase. Something that is going on for thousands of years generally can't be wrong, There's got to be some value to it. Now what's happening is late to bed and late to rise is the mantra that is being followed. People complain that when I'm leaving for office, my daughter is entering the house to go to sleep, and please tell them something, please do something. There's nothing I can do about it unless and until they realize. And you see, I can understand from where they come from. They got this new world, okay, which forces them to keep awake at night. So unless until they themselves realize that this is really harming their health, and unless they realize that health is their, biggest asset, they're not going to listen. So the whole goal over here is, instead of telling them, no, you should do this, you need to explain to them why health is important. And it's only when they see things around, where they see people losing their health and they see themselves losing health, that's the time they realize. And in most cases, it is just too late. So it's very, very critical that the younger generation realizes this. It's very critical that the older generation realizes this, because the older generation also now has a lot of things. For example, Netflix. You can keep watching a serial.
Binge watching.
Yeah, you can do binge watching, and it can go, and and each time these episodes are so framed that when they end is the biggest suspense. So you want to watch the next episode. You say, okay, after the next episode, I go to sleep. And then you realize that you come to the next episode and say, oh no, I have to see the next one. And so on and so forth. And before you know, it's already 12, 1, 2 in the morning. Right? So this is extremely important. And in my opinion, the fifth, and in my opinion, is one of the most important pillars nowadays, is stress. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how poor you are. It doesn't matter how educated you are, uneducated you are. You got a lot of power. You don't have power. You're royalty. I can assure you that you will have stress in your life. It is given that this stress is going to be there. Something or another is going to keep going wrong. The important question is that how you cope with that stress. Do you have a coping mechanism? Why do you see that some people just under stress just fall? Okay. In sports, people are generally put through extremely stressful situations, right? And yet over there, we find that sometimes the most talented people fail during stress, and there are some people who bring out the best in them through stress. And the only difference between the two is that these guys have a good stress mechanism and they thrive on stress. They love the stress. Without stress, their life is empty. Now, that is their way of coping up with stress. That doesn't mean that normal people need to create stress in their life. Normal people just need to have a good coping mechanism. I can always, when I see these situations in front of me, it is very depressing to see that the same person in the same kind of stressful situation seem to be reacting in the same way, not learning from the previous stressful situations. So this is where a good mentor can really help you. A good mentor can really help you how to deal with it, provided you're open to listen. Okay, provided you're open to, thinking as to, what can I do better to get out? What can I do better when the same situation develops? Because there are people, okay, who have seen a little bit more, who are more stable. They don't get flustered. They can see things more clearly. And once people are in stress, they lose the perspective, they lose the overall plot. Everything appears, worse than what it is, and everything that is good doesn't appear as good. So this is something that is a new thing, okay? Because in the olden days, what I notice is that the stress levels, by and large, generally, far less than the stress factors that I see today. So one would think that with people with more experience should automatically get better at it, but that's not what is happening. That is what is leading to, people having to go to counselors, and counselors have their own way of dealing with things. And generally, I've noticed that the outcomes are not, really very good. So it's very important, for people to have a good mentor, okay, to whom you can go openly, and be honest about it, and tell them that what exactly you're going through, and maybe listen to their perspective. Once you listen to their perspective, you start thinking the same situation in a different way. My experiences have shown that the most stressful scenario is never as bad as it looks. And the most happiest moment is never as good as it looks. The answer is somewhere in between. Same way, so, to answer your question finally, in all these 5 factors that we talked about, if I were to just put one word to this whole question, I would put it as balance. Get balance in your life, and you will find a safe way to good health.
Thank you, Farokh. In fact, on the mentor bit, I know when you're stressed, you tend not to see any solution. The same person who's experiencing, but a mentor can actually clear that fog and give you that solution. So thanks, Farokh. So I'll come back to the first bit that you said, right? Not too much and not too little, especially on the food aspect. You said balance. Unfortunately, the life is imbalanced, right? How do we find that balance? Especially, let's focus on food, for example. A lot of us who are working professionals, and I think everyone, either they have to start very early in the morning and hence tend to miss their breakfast so that they reach their workplace on time. I've seen teachers, in fact, facing these issues, people who have to travel to work. Then there is the other end of it where, there are many people who are not able to come back home on time and hence end up eating late dinners or probably eat a nice heavy dinner because that's the only meal that they eat together with their family. And so, what if you can help us understand what is the impact of this kind of a lifestyle or this kind of a food habit, and what we can do to focus, or a small thing that we can do to change our habits and reverse this?
See, if you're basically having a late breakfast, if you're getting up early, going off and not having breakfast, like nowadays we have things like Starbucks. You can go and pick up a really expensive coffee, okay, drink that coffee, get a little kick, and feel very good about ourselves because the caffeine has kicked in, and you feel good, right? But you don't know that it's gradually creating harm because your body is empty. It needs the nutrition. It doesn't have nutrition. It's just given you caffeine. Okay. So you're like sparked up, like you're awake. But that's killing you, more or less. So you need to realize that, okay, this is really I look at it as just an excuse. Because when people realize that morning breakfast is one of the most important meals of the day because your fuel tank is empty and you need to put in the nourishment in, they will find a solution about having breakfast. Okay. The rest of the problem is about, people generally have lunch in their office, right? Between, say, 1 and 2 is generally a lunch break in most offices, and they have their lunch between 1 and 2. And there are some people who get stuck because they're working late at night. See, it doesn't matter if you're working late at night. All you need to do is just like you had lunch in the office, you can also have dinner in office, before 6:37. So you can have a dinner break and continue doing the work if you have to do the work. If you have to compromise between coming home and having a late night dinner with the family and having dinner alone in the office, I would rather take that as a compromise of having dinner alone in the office. I would not want to not only destroy my entire circadian rhythm, but also destroy the entire circadian rhythm of the family. Yeah, the family can meet at weekends. Family can meet during holidays and get together. Okay, so there is a compromise, okay, between socially, setting up a meal with the family. So that's a very, very nice thing to do, to have a meal with the family around you. But if it is leading to breaking in circadian rhythm, then it's not a very healthy thing to do, and one needs to adjust. And the adjustment would be to follow the circadian rhythm, okay, not fall in this trap of, having late night dinners, because it's just ridiculous that how gradually, through the 60s and 70s and 80s, 90s, 2000, how gradually this time of dinner started shifting later and later in many, many households. Yeah. And today, it would be very safe to assume that 90% of the households, okay, especially in urban cities, would be having dinner after 9 o'clock. It will be considered pretty normal. Whereas this is really damaging your health for sure. And if it is damaging your health, and if you're sure that it is damaging your health, then you are bound to make some changes. And it's the right kind of information, on a community like this that helps you to make these changes. Otherwise, if a friend just talks to you about it, you're never going to make those changes. But if you see that, okay, I got this whole community, and where people with similar challenges are also finding, these solutions, then I also need to find mine. And I cannot give away with just giving up, continuously giving an excuse that, because of my office and I got to work, otherwise how will the family live and how will the family survive? And I'm doing it for the family. Those are basically excuses, rather than, thinking of, okay, what's good for my health and what's good for the health of my family. So on a platform like this, in a community like this, when you get this kind of right information, you start making changes. And what I've noticed is that when people come on this community and they realize that, this is important, and they do get stuck sometimes, okay, they ensure that they do limited damage. So if they do less damage, it's better than doing more damage, right? So if they have to eat late, they find some kind of a compromising solutions over there where they either don't overeat or, they ensure that, they had something before, something healthy before, and probably just be there for a social gathering.
But Farokh, just asking, क्या ही होगा अगर लेट खा लिया तो? Yeah.
This entire circadian rhythm breaks, and what is it's a very, very long topic. We cannot cover it in this session, but there's a difference. I mean, people need to understand that the longer the time that you give between your dinner and your breakfast, the healthier your body is going to be, because this is a time when you allow the lysosomes in your body, okay, to kill off the dead cells, the cancer cells, the free radicals. But if you keep on eating late, so why would the lysosomes worry about looking for dirt when they're getting nice, nice calories to thrive on? So once you realize that this is not good for my health, and you start making the changes, and the beauty of these changes, like as soon as you make these changes, you will realize that your skin starts to glow. You feel more stronger, you feel more energetic. Okay. you just feel fresh, and that's the importance of maintaining good health. So once they experience it, and they are on a community where the information is provided on a continuous basis, some people do make the changes, and some people who do not make the changes at least limit the damage, and some are definitely not going to make the change. Okay, so
Unless it
there's
is too
nothing we
late.
can
Yeah.
do about that.
True. No, I definitely, I remember times when I used to argue with you that I have a hectic life, I am on calls, etc. And when you told me, whether if you can prioritize and plan, it can happen. And today, because of this community, because of your guidance, even though I work till late, I'm able to finish my dinner by 7. So yes, it can be done.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be done, and so can. Now, this is the thing that others need to hear, okay? Because it's not important that it comes from me. It is important that it comes from the other people in the community who join. And when they see, okay, these other people who are also having this office life and all that, and they are able to manage this, so can they. Okay, otherwise it's just a plain and simple excuse,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, Farokh, when you alluded to, I have quite a few friends, and I'm sure many, many people, probably on this platform also, they go for a lot of marathons and gymming, all exercise, which is great. But many of them are just focusing on that, on exercise. Is that good enough? Because even if they're doing a balanced amount, I'm not saying they're doing excess, but is exercise only good enough? You are yourself a successful sports person, and I would think the whole focus would have been on exercise. Is that right?
Yeah. So what I've noticed again is a very dangerous trend. People who run marathons and all, they generally focus on the aerobic fitness part. Okay. And you find that most of these guys who run, they're really skinny, and because you've never seen a fat marathon runner, right? So they do that, but while doing that, they seem to forget that they also need to worry about you know muscular strength. Muscular strength is extremely important. And my rule of the thumb for muscular strength is that you should be able to at least lift your body weight. Okay, that is the barest minimum muscular strength you need to have. During our peak sports training periods, we used to lift more than twice our body weight. Okay, so I know that that's possible, but I don't want you to go there, but at least lifting your own body weight is a good measure whether you have got good upper body strength. Right. But it also needs flexibility. Exercise also needs flexibility. And most of these people who go to gym, they get very stiff because they're not doing flexible exercises. And finally, what is most important is, in my opinion, is as you get older, is balance. Okay, you do not realize that how gradually you start to lose balance, or if you are not into any kind of sport where balance is needed, you're probably losing balance right from the early days, or you have no balance at all, and that's not a good thing. Balance is extremely important for good health. So when you talk about exercise, let's not get too extreme, marathons, this, that. It's a bit too much, in my opinion. Okay. Let's not look at bodybuilders. Okay. Just muscular. Okay. Let's have a balance between, good aerobic fitness, you know, good muscular fitness, good flexibility. Okay. And good amount of balance. When you have all these three things, okay, you'll find that your coordination is good, and you don't look flat-footed. So ultimately, everything revolves around balance. Get everything in control. Now, aerobics. Okay, one of my rules of the thumb is that if you can go up 6 stories, at a reasonable pace, not like real slowly, like a 90-year-old or something, at a reasonable pace, like a normal pace, And if you're not panting at the end of it, then your aerobic fitness is good. Okay. Every time I find that the good news in aerobic fitness is that it takes hardly 20, 21 days to bring up aerobic fitness.
Yeah.
The bad news is it takes only 7 days to lose it. All right. And if you don't give your body, okay, at least if you don't push your heart rate, aerobic exercises are basically all a matter of pushing the heart rate. If you don't push your heart rate to, at least 220 minus your age, about 80% of that, okay, for at least 20 minutes, 5 times in a week, with not a break of more than 24 hours. So you can do like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, break Thursday, Friday, Saturday, break Sunday. Okay. If you don't do that, no matter what level of aerobic fitness you got, you will lose it by the end of the week. Okay. And as I said, the good news is it take only 21 days to bring it back. It doesn't matter what your age is. It doesn't matter, what level of fitness you are in. It just takes a very, very short period of time to, and it feels really good. You see, the problem with aerobic fitness is that when you have it, you're not grateful. You don't realize it, that you have it. It's when you lose it and you start panting is the time, I have a problem. And you start thinking about doing something about it. Whereas the truth lies in being able to do it before you reach that stage.
Right.
As far as muscular strength is concerned, as I mentioned, again, rule of the thumb over here is, do some push-ups, do some abdominal exercises, do some shoulder exercises so that your front, shoulders are wider than your waist. And flexibility, see at least, whether you can, one of the things that I, look at when people get older, they find it very difficult to wear socks and shoes. All right. So are you able to do that? If something falls on the ground, are you able to, reach it very comfortably and get up? That day I heard somebody, very, very famous actor talking about it, that, everything it seems different now. Even a single piece of paper fallen down on the ground is an effort to pick up. If you reach that stage, means you haven't done enough to, to prevent that kind of stuff. I mean, aging is a natural process, but aging healthy is a matter of choice. These are the choices that one needs to make. So, I'll tell you one more thing, very important thing, that with today's, increase in technology, we are reaching a stage where, the next generation may not die. And that's really scary, because if you can live long, do you really want to live just long, or do you want to live long in a healthier manner? So technical advancement is a double-edged sword. While it can keep you alive, it does not keep you alive in a healthier manner where you can really enjoy that life. Mm-hmm. So let's make sure that we don't fall into this trap. And as long as we live, we need to live in a healthier fashion.
Thank you, Farokh. In fact, some question which is related to your first answer as well, in terms of you spoke about nutrition, right? Not just food. You mentioned the word nutrition many times, couple of times, many times in your whole sentence. And many people now, because of awareness and all, I would say not many, but at least a segment of people are aware that there is a gap in the food, right, that we eat. And hence there is a need to supplement. and probably even the marathon runners or the people who are keeping fit, they are also, some of them are taking protein, not all the supplements, but probably protein awareness has increased, right? But there are many brands, many types of supplements that are available in the market. Some are, of course, pharmaceutical. There are those who are claiming plant-based or natural supplements and all. What is your take on the need of supplement? What type and how much?
See, supplements are no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. All right. Because of the changes that are happening in the environment. All right. We're not getting enough nutrition from our food. It's virtually impossible. What we are eating is empty calories. We are eating more and more processed food. We are eating more and more refined food. We are eating more and more super refined food, super processed food. So all this is creating a big nutritional gap. Okay. And first we should say कि हमें घर का खाना खा रहा हूं. All right. Now, what is the sense of eating that ghar ka khana, where in the ghar ka khana also there is a lot of processed food that is crept in. There's a lot of plastic that is crept in. Right? People tend to use everything from a package box rather than cutting fresh. Simple thing like putting tomato sauce, tomato puree as compared to taking fresh tomatoes. All right. So the problems are there. And that is why I use the word that it's no longer a luxury. It's not only for sports people. It's a general necessity because you want to ensure that your nutritional gap is bridged as much as possible. Even with complete supplementation, it is virtually impossible to bridge the entire gap. Okay. So it's no longer a luxury. It's an absolute necessity. The market, having realized this, is flooded with products. Okay. That's where, again, a community like this can advise you that what's good for you and what's not good for you. All right. So I'll go in very simple terms that when you look at any supplement, check the following. Check the source, whether it comes from an organic source or not. Okay. Check the consistency. Does it have a program to ensure that there's consistency in what you're consuming? Or is it that every tablet in the box has different consistency levels? Okay. And finally, what is the way of packaging? Right? Check these three things out and then check what you need, what you're consuming, how much is your gap, and see how best you can fill out with organic supplements. Yeah. Anything that is made, if the supplements are made in a laboratory, all right, using artificial stuff, artificial chemicals, and don't consume them because that's not good for you in the long run. A good supplement is something that your body will not recognize as a supplement. Your body will recognize it as food. An artificial supplement or an allopathy pill, okay, the body recognizes as something alien. All right. So this is the best way to judge. If the supplement is the same as food, then it's a good supplement. If the supplement is not the same as food, then it is not a good supplement to have on a long-term basis. Because supplementation program is as good. People ask me that, how long do you keep taking supplement? Answer is simple. How long do you have to keep eating breakfast? Okay. Exactly the same amount of time you need to take supplements.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Farokh. Well, because of a lot of issues, like the stress levels are high, as you mentioned earlier, right? Most of us, in fact, I included, when I started this program, had no exercise at all because of the hectic lifestyle, poor eating habits, and due to all of this, we are seeing issues happening much earlier in life. For example, diabetes or cholesterol issues, which or probably heart, ailments that used to happen in 60s, 70s. This is happening earlier. Forget all of that. I think we are falling ill more often in terms of virals or fever, simple fever, right? We blame the weather and all. And what happens is because we have to go back to work or for whatever reason, we just start an antibiotic course without really understanding that it's just a viral and our body can fight it, right? And easiest solution is to go and have some medicines. But what is your take on this, and is it impacting? Is it
See,
impacting
it
us?
is
And yeah.
very clear that antibiotics do not work on viral infections. They work on only bacterial infection. So when there's a viral infection, taking an antibiotic just does not make any sense. But if you do land up in a hospital, they will justify giving you the antibiotic, saying that you're going to prevent a secondary infection. Now, that's no logic. It's like saying, okay, now I'm 60 years old, so there must be some blockages, so let's do a heart bypass. I mean, it's to me sounds more or less similar, but this is the way things are run, okay? So the goal is that you should not land up in the hospital, because once you land up in the hospital, this is what's going to happen. But forget the hospitals. Even on a day-to-day basis, people just rush to take an antibiotic course. Okay, it's highly not recommended to do that in the early stages. Okay, you must only take antibiotics when the right bacterial infection is identified and you have the right antibiotic to counter it. Because if you keep on taking the wrong antibiotics for a long period of time, when the real need comes, okay, to get antibiotics for your body, they'll not work for you. So this is one of very important things that one need to understand instead of just rushing to it. But I can also answer this question a little in a separate way. I've always noticed that even people at really old age also, if you make them do a little bit of exercise, their immunity goes up. And when the immunity is high, see, you cannot do anything with the environment. The virus is there, the infection is there. So all you need to do is to keep increasing your own immunity. That is in your control. You cannot control the environment, you cannot control the infection. So if your immunity is high, it's going to, it's bound to fight off infections, very easily. And one of the things that one should be careful about is that if you're getting a cough or a cold or an irritation in your throat, or somebody's I see people who have the nose running continuously 365 days of the year. And to the best of my knowledge, there are already 2,000 documented cold viruses in the world. Now, when you get one cold virus hitting you, howsoever long your body may take, okay, it develops antibodies, and you never get that viral infection again in your life. So when people are continuously having a cold or a cough or things like that, that means they're going from one infection to the other infection. All right. That means their immunity is so poor that every infection is able to attack through the immune system. And hence you need to, work harder on, some exercises. And I've noticed the minute you start doing exercises, all this infection seems to disappear quite rapidly. Okay. With the right, taking the right courses of echinacea, taking the right amount of vitamin C, vitamin E. Now, these are very, very powerful things which can keep your immune system high. Today, it's become even more important to keep your immune system high. because we seem to be going from a very protected environment in the home where you can have air purifiers and things like that, where there is no infection. Then you suddenly step out and the body is not used to it, and then you suddenly start getting infection. Like it's one of my friends who said, all these people are applying all this sanitation and using, liquids to think that they are sanitizing their hands.
Right.
I mean, they're basically losing immunity, because if you keep on getting smaller infections and your immune system is working, they keep on producing antibodies, and you're fine. So if you feel that you're like falling sick very often, then you really need to do something about it. Okay, do a proper course of echinacea, do a proper course of vitamin C, do some exercises. Okay, and even when you're in the office, that is why on our website, Slim Trim Sexy Thin, we put so many simple exercises that you can do in the office, to remove the excuse that, I'm in the office.
Right.
And we will continuously keep on adding more exercises on that website, on a regular basis, to help people sitting in offices where they can get up for a minute or two, do a little exercise. Okay, I've been working on another exercise now for the last 5 or 6 weeks, and I'll soon put one of these on again. These are very, very simple exercises, but they are so powerful that it's sometimes I feel that they almost, when you cannot even go for a walk or something, this 2-3 minutes of exercise can be a game changer in today's fast lifestyle. So keep a lookout on those exercises and try and see if you can do them during your busy office schedule. You can always, the busiest person can always take a minute or two out, every 1 or 2 hours.
Yeah.
And do them. All right. So
Absolutely. I can definitely vouch for that, Farokh, in terms of the simple exercises that you have, recorded and we put up on the website, because that's something, friends, that actually helped me during
and all,
my
all
long
these
hours. Yeah.
exercises are designed with the basic aim that first do no harm. All right. So these exercises are designed in such a way that you can only be training and there can be no straining in those exercises.
Great. Friends, if there is any question for Farokh, please feel free to put up on the chat and I will unmute you, or even if you want to raise your hands. Well, I would, in fact, thank you so much, Farokh, for putting out all of the points that you mentioned in the start. You mentioned the 5 pillars, which are, or the important factors that we need to ensure or focus on are a balance of nutrition and exercise, in terms of not too much and not too little, uh, training versus training, then the importance of hydration, sleep, and stress. And I can tell you, friends, if you're not part of this community, join the community, because being a part of this community, it helps you prioritize, because otherwise life तो ऐसे ही चलती जाएगी. 12 hours कैसे चले जाते हैं, morning to evening, 8 to 8 in the night, and there will be no exercise. You'll lose a track of your food timings, you lose a track of the nutrition that you're eating. um, just to conclude, if there are no questions, how Farokh helped, and how this program helped. I've been an IT professional for 27 years now, and on the heavier side, obese. I didn't have time. I used to be on calls whole day in front of the laptop, like this, sitting. Farouk's exercise, I will call it out. Go to the website on Slim Trim Sexy Thing /exercise. I'll put up here. It's a abs exercise. I used to do that. And then, of course, Farokh did not, leave me just by, just that exercise. He always insisted, go walk, do a brisk walk after every meal. And those little small steps, along with sharing plates, help me reverse my pre-diabetic stage, get my cholesterols all within range, help me reduce my triglycerides, and of course, lose 22 kgs of weight across a period of 16, 17 months and get from an XXL size to a medium size. In fact, and with higher energy. So, and this can be possible with whatever Farokh has mentioned in this program, and with mentors like Farokh, you get help to prioritize things and align things in small steps. So, if there are no questions from the forum. Farooq, thank you so much. Appreciate and gratitude for all the patience that you have in guiding us repeatedly, without deviating. And your fundamentals are clear, and those fundamentals are helping us 100%, 200%, I would say, change in our health and lives. Thank you so much once again. It is my pleasure, friends, in hosting you all tonight. Take care and wishing you all a happy new year. Hoping this program helps you take that resolution that you will take to conclusion in 2026. Take care, good night, and God bless.